Well, welcome to another chat with Tim. I want to start a little mini series here, and it's based on the very first video that I did in the Reparenting series several years ago. And what I did in that video was to take the work of Erikson, where he developed the 8 stages of psychological development in a person. And his whole thesis is that at infancy, there's certain things that need to happen, and if they happen, then the child learns these skills, or they basically have these favorable outcomes. But if those things don't happen, then the child experiences unfavorable outcomes. And in that first video, I went through all 8 of the stages and showed the favorable outcomes, the unfavorable outcomes. And recently, people have been asking me, okay, if I experience the unfavorable outcome, am I messed up for life? What do I need to do to repair it? Is it repairable? And so I think it's important to understand right up front is that as we go through these developmental stages again and you see unfavorable outcomes and you go, that's me, that happened to me, it doesn't mean it's a permanent verdict. It's very possible in recovery at a later stage in life to go back, re-enter that earlier stage, heal, learn the tools that you missed, and grow. And it's such an important piece of recovery. And why I say that is I have watched so many people in recovery come in and just say, teach me some tools. And what they're thinking is recovery and getting healthy is learning to manage a whole bunch of symptoms and behaviors. And what I've seen with many of those people is they'll learn those tools and they'll do they'll do fairly well in recovery, but only to a certain point. And they get to a point where they haven't dealt with that damage done in that early stage of development, let's say as a 2-year-old. And so they only grow so far. They're not able to grow beyond that because they haven't gone back and healed and learned from that earlier stage of disruption where the unfavorable outcomes become. And so to me, an important part of recovery is for people to become aware of the disruptions that happened in the stages of development and the unfavorable outcomes that came out of that, and then to go back and to heal those areas to meet the unmet needs that were there and grow and begin to learn the basic foundational things that were missed in that earlier stage of development. So I hope this is very helpful but very practical to you, and that's what I want it to be. So let's begin with the very first stage, and it's in the first year of a child's life, so infancy. And so as Erikson puts it, the crisis is between trust versus mistrust. But it goes beyond just trust and mistrust. The favorable outcome is the child connects with their parents in a secure attachment. Therefore, they have faith in the environment. They have the ability to trust others and the ability to attach to others. What I want you to see is trust and secure attachment are absolutely foundational tools, prerequisites of a healthy life. If you don't have trust and secure attachment, you're not going to be capable of good relationships later in life. If you don't have trust and secure attachment, it's going to lead to all kinds of other issues in your life that are negative. So trust and secure attachment, which takes place in infancy, are the 2 pillars of a healthy life. And if you don't get those, doesn't matter how many tools you learn, you're going to struggle. So just think of the unfavorable outcome. If trust or you're not able to securely attach happens in a child, well, once trust is broken, it's so hard to then trust others. There's a constant fear, suspicion, and then all your attachments are insecure attachment. So you live with anxiety issues, you live with attachment issues, you have difficulty relying on others and having healthy relationships. So what does recovery mean? You can learn thousands of tools, but unless you learn how to trust and securely attach, you're only going to grow so far. But learning how to trust and attach securely after that's been disrupted in infancy, that is a massive undertaking. That is not easy, but that is crucial if one is going to get healthy. Now, before I get on to kind of the healing part, let me just show you some of the ramifications. So an infant, trust is disrupted and they can't securely attach. So they have insecure, anxious, avoidant attachment. What begins to happen? Well, there's a whole bunch of negative ramifications. They, number one, conclude that it must be them. So they develop a shame belief. I'm not good enough. I guess I'm not lovable. I guess I'm not valuable. The ramifications are huge. But then they also conclude, I guess I was rejected because people don't like me, so I can't be authentic anymore if I want attachment. So let's wear masks. Let's become a chameleon. Let's be what others want me to be. And they learn to fawn. But then they go, if others don't want to attach to me and I can't trust others, and I must be the problem, then I don't want to attach to me. I don't like me. I don't trust me. So they now disconnect from self. They now don't even trust themselves. And then that leads to a huge anger at who they are, anger at the world, anger that just begins to seep into every area of their life. And then that leads to mental health issues. There's anxiety all the time. What will other people think of me? Will they want to attach me? Or will they reject me too? Depression about how their life sucks, how terrible they are. And then they have trouble regulating emotions because an infant needs attachment to have a co-regulator to help them learn to regulate their own emotions. But if they weren't able to attach, now they don't know what to do with all these powerful emotions. So they either suppress them or they just fly off and escalate in a moment's notice whenever they're triggered. So what you can see is those two foundational pillars, trust and secure attachment, if they're broken, the ramifications go into every area of life negatively. They set you up more and more to fail because you are adapting. You are drawing conclusions that are not based on truth, but are lies. Your adaptations are trying to just keep you safe, but they're going to mess up adult life. So, recovery. And this is what most people that I work with need to face. You can learn hundreds of tools, but if you don't heal your attachment issues and learn secure attachment and to trust again, your recovery is only going to go so far. Those are the core issues that were missed. Those are the core foundation stones of a healthy life that you need in recovery. And so it's not just that you learn a whole bunch of techniques. There's some inner person stuff that has to change, that has to heal, that has to learn tools that you weren't taught as a child. So be aware then that something that happened so early in your life and has been going on for years in your life and all the ramifications have been going on, you don't just heal that overnight. That is a slow process. That takes a lot of time. That is not a clean process. It's quite a messy process. So be patient with yourself. Now, what does this all mean, this recovery in attachment issues? So again, you can take a course like ours, or there's other wonderful attachment courses where you can really begin to learn what healthy attachment looks like and how to do it. But the key to me in learning healthy attachment, especially as an adult when it's been undermined and broken for years and you've lived with anxious or avoidant attachment, is you have to start small and focus on practice, not perfection. So secure attachment is not just concepts that you need to understand. It's a set of relational habits. So think of learning to ride a bike, learning to tie your shoes, learning to speak a new language. In the beginning, it is awkward. It feels weird. There's so much to learn. It feels overwhelming. So you start and you just develop a little bit, you practice. You develop a little bit more, you practice, you practice, you practice. over time, those habits of daily practice, little bit, you soon learn a new language. You can ride your bike. All of those things begin to happen. So this is the same with learning secure attachment. Realize that there are thousands of little skills, little things to overcome internally, areas of resistance, areas where you want to sabotage, fears, anger, all the wrong conclusions that you jump to about a person, and you just work at it slowly. You practice. Another important thing to say up front is it's often hard to heal attachment issues and learn healthy attachment if you're still in close relationship with the people that injured you originally with attachment issues. So if you are still really close to mom and dad and you were never able to have secure attachment to them, and they are still hurting you in ways, it's going to be really hard to learn healthy attachment. You probably can't learn it with them. And if you're still in your relationship with them and they're hurting you, it's going to be hard to learn it with others as well. So you may need to have some boundaries to separate from people who've inflicted the injury for a while so that you can learn and practice those skills outside of the influence of that relationship that was injurious. So I get asked about learning attachment, secure attachment all the time. And what I have found is that most people, when they think of it, they want to go out and start a romantic relationship and how do I have secure attachment? And I go, whoa, that's probably getting way too far ahead of yourself. You don't have enough tools yet to get into a romantic relationship, and it's just going to trigger you like crazy, and you're going to go back to all the old stuff. So where do you start? I think the right place to start and the safest place to start is with yourself. Learn to connect with yourself, because part of the breaking of attachment with others was that you then broke attachment with yourself. You abandoned yourself. You did not like yourself. You did not want a relationship with yourself. Much of your life was staying busy so that you didn't have to live in your own skin. And so learning to have a relationship with yourself and connect with yourself is so critical. So very, very practical things. So try this. Set aside 10 minutes 3 times a day, morning, noon, night, where you do several things in that 10 minutes. Number 1, you get quiet, and then you just do a body scan. Is there pain in my body? What am I feeling in my body? What is my body telling me? You're connecting to your body. Then you do an emotional scan. You connect to your emotions. What emotions have I been feeling today? How intense are those emotions? What is the cause of those emotions? Where are they coming from? And then just sit quietly with yourself. Just listen. Don't necessarily have to scan. Just be quiet. Then for some people, they try journaling and they start writing down what they're feeling, what's in their bodies, thoughts that have been going on in their head. So they start a journaling practice, and that helps them connect with themselves, listen to themselves, communicate with themselves. And then begin doing things that you enjoy. So it's like you take yourself on a date. You're going to try to connect with yourself. So you're going to develop hobbies. You're going to go for walks in nature. Whatever it is, but you're going to spend time with self doing stuff that you enjoy, that's a positive experience for you, that enables you to connect with yourself. So it's really key to say, when you talk about connecting with yourself, that the underlying attitude needs to be self-compassion. So many people, when they want to connect with themselves, it's almost like they want to drive themselves to connect like a slave driver. There's a harshness, a cruelty, there's pushing, there's no warm emotion. It's just discipline. You got to do this. And it's seeing yourself as kind of a loser, a failure, something that you don't like, but you just got to learn how to do. It doesn't work. You got to learn self-compassion. Learn to be kind to yourself, not see yourself as a loser, as a terrible person, not look at yourself with judgment and condemnation. So important. Then the next thing that becomes really important in connecting with yourself is learning self-regulation. So learning to regulate your emotions. And sometimes you may need to have a mentor or somebody that you can connect with regularly that just helps you process emotions, learn tools to regulate your emotions so they're your co-regulator for a while. But then you learn tools of grounding techniques, so breathing. Then you learn kind of sensory check-ins. What am I hearing, seeing, tasting, smelling, feeling, all of those things. Then you learn to not let your limbic brain run away with stuff the moment it's triggered, but you learn to pause before you react. So you give yourself permission when you're triggered and your limbic brain goes into this escalated place that before I act out, I am going to just pause and do an inventory on what am I feeling, where's it coming from, and calm myself down. That becomes so important. So before I start texting people, before I start withdrawing and isolating, before I start lashing out in anger, I will pause and I will calm down. And then I will talk to myself compassionately and gently when I'm triggered. So instead of seeing myself as a failure, you can't do this right, you're always doing this, getting angry at myself, I will remind myself, hey, I'm learning. This is what's happening when people are healing from trauma. If I practice this, I can learn to handle this, and I'm safe right now. So you learn to connect with yourself. Then you move to connect with a safe person. This is not a romantic relationship. This is somebody that you respect because you can talk to them about stuff. They don't judge you. They're trustworthy. They have integrity. You don't have to earn their love. All of those things are part of this relationship. And so to find that becomes the challenge. So what I tell people is you start relationships by finding common activities or common interests. As you do that with people, you're looking for red flags or orange flags. You're getting to know them better to find out, do we have interests beyond these common interests? Do we have similar values, similar beliefs, similar passions in life, what our purpose is, what we want to accomplish in life, what really matters to us? So you're getting to know this person at a deeper and deeper level. And part of that is you learn questions to ask that go from superficial conversation to getting to know them a little better, but not pushing too hard just yet. And then I'm liking what I'm seeing, then you push a little bit and ask a little deeper questions and go to more and more vulnerable areas. And as you do that, if the person is passing, you go, okay, I'm thinking this is a safe person. So you're kind of in a vetting process where you're mutually opening up at deeper and deeper levels. But as you do that, you're connecting. So you connect at a very superficial level initially with just a common interest or a common activity. But each time you open up at deeper layers and more vulnerably, you're connecting at deeper and deeper levels. So your connection is deepening. And then if they're really safe, you get to the point where you go, not only do I feel a connection, I know that this person is there for me whether I feel it or not. That takes time. That can take 6 months, a year, even longer to develop that depth of connection with a person. But you want to do that. So as you're doing that, you're also building self-awareness. So as you get to know a person, you are kind of figuring out, how am I responding to them? So you feel kind of a pull. Do I feel like, I want to avoid conflict. I want to avoid letting them see all of me. I want to avoid asking hard questions. I want to avoid saying no. Or am I needy, always wanting to be with them, feeling insecure, feeling quite anxious, feeling a bit clingy with them? Or do I just kind of freeze and I just want them to take the lead? I don't want to do anything. I will just follow whatever they initiate and the boundaries that they set, because I'm just so full of fear of taking the lead of setting boundaries. So you're learning about yourself at deeper levels. But then you're also learning what emotions are coming up as we interact. Do I feel safe or unsafe? So you listen to your gut. Do I feel anxiety? Do I feel anger? Do I feel love? Do I feel compassion? What is going on inside of me? So you're going to grow in self-awareness, and that's going to be so critical once you go down the road and maybe look at a romantic relationship, because you're going to learn so much from this process of gradually connecting more and more with a safe person. And then learn to trust in small steps. So it's like you don't just go in and say, I trust you fully. You go in, I don't really know you. I kind of like what I've seen from a distance. So I'm going to get to know you a little better, and then I'll trust you with a little bit. I'll trust you to see if you keep your word. I'll trust you with a bit of information and about myself and see what you do with that. I'll trust you to respond to me in healthy ways when we're doing stuff together. And if you prove trustworthy, then I'll trust you a little bit more. So baby steps of gradually developing deeper and deeper trust with this person. Some people find it so important that to write down kind of a record of, if this person's been trustworthy, write down all the events where they've been trustworthy. Because what happens is all of a sudden something happens where, let's say, they forget to meet you, they don't do what they said, and it's like, oh, untrustworthy, throw it out, throw them away. And it's like, no, they just might have forgotten. They've got 1,000 different things of proving to be trustworthy. Go back and look at that. Don't just see that one little thing and go, oops, that makes them totally untrustworthy. So Brene Brown uses the illustration of every time a person is trustworthy, it's like putting a dime or a penny into a jar. And you just keep adding and adding and adding. And let's say there's 500 pennies, dimes in the jar. And one day they prove not to be trustworthy. So you take a penny out, but there's still 499 left. It doesn't mean now, because of this one thing, they're totally untrustworthy. So it's developing a way to prevent yourself from jumping to the worst case scenario when something appears to be untrustworthy. The next key thing is that healthy connection, attachment, secure attachment requires healthy boundaries. So what happens in complex trauma where there's insecure attachment is there's either no boundaries, everybody's enmeshed, or boundaries are walls, everybody's isolated, nobody connects at all. And so many people begin to think that if I'm going to securely connect to somebody, that means they'll never say no to me, there'll be no boundaries, we'll just be in each other's business, they'll be constantly available to me. No. Secure attachment requires healthy boundaries. You're not going to become one. You're going to be two separate people who are autonomous, who are connecting. That is so critical to understand. And so to do that, protect the autonomy of each other, but to connect in healthy ways requires very careful boundaries. And so this is a massive topic. We've done a whole series on it, but learn healthy boundaries is so much a part of this. Then the next thing is you have to learn to repair when something happens that harms the connection. So they got upset at you. You had a conflict. They let you down. They weren't there for you when you thought they should be. They didn't meet your need the way you thought they would. So there's damage. In complex trauma is you avoid conflict, or you go to extreme anger and try to hurt them back. What you want to do now is learn tools of repairing the damage. So you can go to them and say, when you did that I felt really hurt by that. Can we talk about this? Can we understand what was going on here? Why you did what you did? Why I perceived what I perceived? and let's see if we can figure this out. And if they're a healthy person, not a narcissist, they're going to work with you and it's going to get repaired. Such an important part of secure attachment. And then I think it's just so important in recovery to do your best to surround yourself with people who model healthy behavior, secure attachment in their relationships. So you can learn by watching how others do it and how they handle different situations. Read books, watch stories, biographies of people that are just excellent in healthy relationships. It is going to help you. Finally, I think most people who've had trust and attachment damaged at a young age, they need therapy. They need in-depth help from professional, from a program that's going to help them learn the thousands of things that were missed because of the damage done at such a young age. And often, just to be aware, if you find a good therapist, they can often be your first form of secure attachment. They will connect with you with healthy boundaries. They will let you know what that feels like, and that can be a starting point for you. So I hope you realize that, to me, the tragedy of complex trauma is the extent of the damage that happens, in most cases, so early in life. And then the ramifications negatively of that initial wounding in those key areas of what makes a healthy life. So recovery is not just learning some tools. It's healing. It's going back and repairing and healing and learning the tools that were missed and the damage that was done at that very, very early age. Well, I hope that gives you some good insight and helps you. If it did, please like, subscribe, comment, share. It means a lot to us. See you next time.